excited to see you, but we're also, and so welcome to both. Restrooms. I just said, grab your stuff. I'm going to say very casual, so feel free to get up in the middle, but that we would like those trying to get a foot in line. Yep. And then kind of just go. Yeah, perfect. And then, any questions? Yeah. And I'm going to remind, I want to really get into they can stay after if they want to ask questions, but it's okay for me to take this off.
Please do. I would recommend that you do, yes. Because online it's hard to hear if you have your headset up here. So for staff, for advisory team, we've been doing our best not to take the speakers.
Okay, perfect.
And it is 8 o'clock, isn't it?
Yeah. So we've got each. And say it on this here. Thank you.
Yeah. It is,
Will they hear me? Okay. Okay.
Hi, everybody. I just want to say welcome. Grab some coffee. If you can, walk the boards before we sit down so that you can have a reference for Dr. Bedell when he speaks. But thanks to everybody for coming. We're going to do about 10 minutes of just kind of grab something to eat, grab coffee, walk around, and then we'll start at 8:10. Thanks for those that are joining us online. Just have a little bit of patience, and we'll start the program at 8:10. If you are online and you can hear me, go ahead and click the rename. There's 3 dots in your Zoom that you can hit rename, and rename yourself if it says guest. That would be very helpful for us so we know who's attending. Thanks. Okay, everybody, if you'll go ahead and grab some coffee and some breakfast and start to make your way to the tables, we'll start here at about in a minute. Okay, keep making it towards the food and the coffee, please. We're gonna go ahead and try to start. Come on in. Go ahead and find a seat. We're getting to a dull roar. Folks online, if you wouldn't mind, if you haven't already changed your name from guest to your name, if you could do that by clicking on there should be 3 dots in Zoom where you can hit that and hit rename and put your name on there so we know who's attending online. Thank you. Okay, I'm going to go ahead and talk. This is going to be a really informal kind of legislative breakfast because we're going to try to get everybody out of here right on time at 9 o'clock. Welcome. It's so nice to see everybody. I am Jennifer Wolfsey. I'm the Government Relations Chair for the Kansas City Public Schools Board of Directors and also Vice Chair. Many of you know me. I joined the board in 2016, and I'm a long-time Kansas City Public School parent. I have a freshman at Mizzou and a freshman at Paseo. So it's great to actually get to see. I look out and I see all the faces that I haven't seen in a year. I was really sad this time last year because we were all online, but it was still good to see everybody. I can't see you online, and I know you're there, but welcome to all of our folks who've been able to join us virtually. So this is the first time we've done this in a hybrid format, so just kind of bear with us if you wouldn't mind. Before we actually get into the program, I just want to take care of a couple of housekeeping things. Most of you know, but the restrooms are right out here on the left-hand side as you go out. Right now, just want to make sure everybody knows you can get up in and out of the program to grab food and drink. The only thing is that we ask is if you're not eating and drinking, just for the safety of everybody, please wear your mask. We don't want to become a super spreader event. And then I have told those online, but I'll say it one more time. If you would not mind renaming yourself, if you're still a guest, on Zoom, there are 3 dots and you can click those, hit rename, and put your own name there. So that way we can just know who's attended. All right. David, where do I point? Just anywhere? Well, oh, you can tell I don't get up here very often. Okay, so I just want to, before I hand it over to the person you really came to see, I want to walk through what we'll be doing. Breakfast and welcome is now. We'll have Dr. Bedell give an update on our Blueprint 2030 strategic planning that's been going on. We'll then go through our legislative priorities and wrap up. And our goal really is to have you out of here by 9 o'clock. But before I hand it over to him, I want to just explain what government relations really is. It's a working committee of the board, but so it's where we actually get to do some of the work since we're always meeting all the time. But we also work extremely collaboratively with the administration. And our purpose is to advocate legislatively on behalf of our students, our teachers, and staff of Kansas City Public Schools. And a big part of what we do every year is we do work on our legislative priorities, which we're going to hear a little bit about later. And as I mentioned, while it is a working committee of the board, we wouldn't be able to do it without a lot of other folks. So I'd like to just take a minute quickly to have those folks be recognized. So if you'll just wave your hand, I don't want to make you have to stand up and do all that stuff, but board members, Rita Cortez and Manny Abarca, right here. Board secretary, June Kochmeyer. She's in here. Oh, she's out there. Superintendent, Dr. Mark Bedell. Deputy Superintendent, Dr. Jennifer Collier. Chief Legal Counsel, Bill Thornton. Chief Financial and Operations Officer, Linda Quinley. Chief Marketing and Communications Officer, Kelly Wachel. Executive Director of Human Resources, Jordan Gordon. I know you were in here. I don't know where he is. Oh, sorry. Senior Policy Strategist, Kathleen Pointer, and I believe you're online. And Director of Educational Systems, Sharnissa Holliday Scott. I think she may be online as well. We are also joined regularly by folks from the Teachers Union and the District Advisory Committee. Both Angie Lyle and Dion Lewis are here today. And also part of our team is our lobbyist in Jefferson City, the wonderful folks at John Barget and Associates. I believe Chris Ropey is online as well with us. So just a big thanks. This is a committee that does meet a lot, and there's a lot of actual work involved in it. And so I just want to thank you all for your time, your dedication, and advocacy on behalf of KCPS. Another thank you is just that, pulling off an event like this is never easy. So I just want to recognize June Kochmeyer, Ms. Wachel, and the communications staff, as well as Kathleen Pointer, David, Anson, Brian Deal over in IT, and Linda Quinley, and all the folks in facilities and custodial for getting us ready. So a few years ago, we started hosting this event just as a way that we can share these priorities with others who are also working on behalf of students and families in Kansas City, in the hopes we might find ways to support one another's efforts, just not through now, but throughout the year, be it at the city, county, state, or federal level. That's what this is. We've always hoped that it would kind of grow to be a little bit more. But it's hard. Life gets in the way. Legislature sessions start and things just go crazy. But we really always like the fact that we get to see each other, reconnect, and then just try to continue this sort of collaborative networking throughout the year. Every year, we also try to feature a topic that helps us pull back the curtain for people to better understand all of the wonderful things that are going on in Kansas City Public Schools, but also some of the challenges we face. This year, we're excited to bring you an update on our ongoing strategic planning efforts to transform the student experience, which we refer to as Blueprint 2030. And so now I'll turn it over to Dr. Bedell. You can clap.
Hi, Thank you, Ms. Wolfsey, and thank you for your leadership over this board committee. We have a lot of things going on right now in the field of education, and I think today you'll have an opportunity to learn a little bit more about what we're trying to do around Blueprint 2030 in light of a lot of the tenure and the tone that exists in this country right now around how one should be educated, what should be taught in our classrooms, how it should be taught, and in many cases not taking into account the unique dynamics that exist within the boundaries of school districts all around the country, how they got to where they are, and what is it going to take for us to be able to move forward in a way that ensures that our school district serves all that enter our doors at a high level, not a few, not certain genders, races, socioeconomic status kids, but every single one of them. And what I hope you will all get out of this conversation that we're going to have over the next 15 minutes is the desire that we have in this school district to really work hard to try to dismantle a system and redesign it in a way that truly serves all, that truly represents equity in everything that we do. And that's something that, our board of directors pushed us on in 2018 when we created our equity policy 0.0. But it has to play out. It has to play out in everything that we do, teaching and learning, the spaces that our kids have the ability to learn under, the resources that are available, and most importantly, the desire that we want for all of our kids to have those experiences that their peers get across the region and across this country. We have a responsibility to do that. And we know that it's going to take a lot of support from many of you all, many of our elected officials, because there are some barriers that have to be moved out of the way in order for us to see a new day. But there are things that we can do locally, and we hope that Blueprint 2030 will allow for all of us to have the courage to do the right thing. So I want to get started by presenting this video on Blueprint 2030 and what it stands for, and I'll have our tech guys go ahead and run it.
In phase 2 of the Blueprint 2030 planning process, we answer the question, where do we want to be? But first, let's take a look at how we got to where we are now. The school system has made great strides the last 15 years, thanks to families fighting for the best education possible for their students. In 2010, Kansas City families helped make tough decisions that led to the system balancing a $50 million budget deficit. In 2014, Kansas City public school students earned provisional accreditation on state tests, and Kansas City parents fought off a state takeover of their school system. In 2016, Kansas City families helped make tough decisions that reduced cost in the system, created a school feeder pattern system, expanded bus transportation, and generally laid the groundwork for our strategic improvement. In 2017, the entire community came together and developed a strategic plan which has guided the district's decision-making over the past several years. In recent years, Kansas City students showed great improvement on their AP and IB scores, and students graduated at higher rates. To round out the decade, students and families crowned their accomplishments by earning the highest APR in KCPS history. Families and students have also fought for improved experiences through extracurricular activities. And new academic academic opportunities, along with physical, social, and emotional support for students. But is this all enough? Do students and families still deserve more? Well, the administration has continually engaged the community over the last several years. We've heard you loud and clear, and this is what you've told the administration you want. A school system that is in the center of the Kansas City community. Schools with a stronger sense of community. Schools with enough enrollment that would lead to more students for more competitive athletic teams, increased extracurricular activities, and more robust course offerings. Reduced inefficiencies, efficient state-of-the-art future-ready facilities, quality educational experiences, and above all else, equity for all students across all schools. Quite simply, the vision for Blueprint 2030 is to take Kansas City Public Schools to where our students and families want it to be.
Let's see if we can move this. Thank you, Brian. Appreciate you for running that. And just as we get into this presentation, you saw the video. You have an idea of what we ultimately want to see happen for our children in the future. And as we build out this school system, the social, emotional, and academic well-being are significant priorities of Blueprint 2030. We want to also make sure that our kids have the amenities that they need in order to be able to learn in. We are focusing at this point on our presentation that we will present to our board of directors around our commitment around learning, around teaching and learning. What's going to be different about that, right? Because we've gone through these different iterations of changes over the years. And I think what people will say is, we can make changes, but if practice doesn't change, if we don't become more agile, more flexible in how we conduct teaching and learning, we will continuously find ourselves in a situation where we're having the right size. And so we have a thick packet around our commitments, and this will also be a component of what we will engage the community around. What does those experiences look like as we move forward with building out Blueprint 2030. So we're really excited about that. And as I said to you earlier, it's going to require us to be bold. But as you think about the journey that we've gone on to get to where we are, we have made progress, right? The progress is real. It may not be as substantial as we want, but we've made progress. And I tell people until 100% of our kids are where they need to be, we always will have room for growth. But we've outpaced the state on our MAP assessments. We've outpaced the state on how fast we're moving with graduation rates. We've outpaced the state on how fast we're performing with the number of kids who are taking advanced placement courses, IB courses, but also earning qualifying scores. And this is just an example of our fight towards accreditation. we are a provisionally accredited school district, but we know that there are 12 districts or so in the state of Missouri that are fully accredited that we're outperforming. So while we know that we have a lot of work ahead of us, we do want people to know that those changes that were made in the past, they made a difference. They have helped the school district to move to a position where we're actually able to have conversation about accreditation, full accreditation, where we can actually pinpoint where we're falling short, but also know that there's other areas that we have to continue to grow in. And so this is just an example of the work that we've been doing in this system, but we will not be able to make it sustainable if we don't engage this community around the changes that need to take place for a much more robust school system and a much brighter day that truly prepares our kids for this global world that they're going to graduate into. This is just some examples of our progress against the Council for Great City Schools. They rank urban school districts against urban school districts. So like districts with like populations, and these are just some of the areas, the growth with ninth grade with a B average or better, the growth in AP coursework. And in many cases, if you go back to their website and you pull up where the school district was back in 2016, we generally lagged at the bottom of all of these indicators, right? So we've made progress even against urban school districts across the country. And so we know that what we're doing right now is making a difference. Our graduation rates have moved from 68.7%, and our prelim is 77.8%, which hopefully we'll get that official information here in the near future. But we're moving more kids out of the system. They're graduating and they're moving on and they're persisting in life. And we think that that also has something to do with some of the programs you saw earlier that we've done that are non-traditional. I think that's ultimately where we want to go in this school district, is how do we embrace more non-traditional modes of learning? I'm trying to click this. It's not moving, Brian. All right. So ultimately, in order to get there, we have to prioritize student outcomes, student experiences, and student achievement. And when we talk about student achievement, we're talking about it when we take and we target student subgroups. Subpopulations matter. And we want to make sure that as we're closing these gaps against the state, that we're closing these gaps at a rate that is fair across the board for Black, white, Hispanic, and all of the others that we serve within this school district. We want to make sure that we're doing that. We want to make sure that we're seeking student, staff, family, and community feedback around our priorities, our mission and vision, and our commitments. And there's a proposed new mission statement back there right behind Daryl Davis, if you haven't had a chance to look at it, that we think makes a lot of sense. Daryl, if you I'm trying to see, upholding the promise of an equitable educational experience to Kansas City students. So Kansas City students thrive socially, emotionally, and academically. And we have to believe that everything that we're doing around Blueprint 2030 eventually will lead us to accomplishing those three areas within that new proposed mission statement. And then as we just continue to engage folks, we will continue to be very transparent. We'll talk a little bit as I close this out about what's going to happen next Tuesday when we have our first community town hall meeting at Northeast Middle. And we're looking forward to it. But what's next? We are going to have to work on figuring out how do we build out these scenarios for the future of KCPS with student achievement at the center, the academic experiences and priorities being built while also continuing to highlight our successes, and then also continuing to engage around our process and upcoming scenario work. We want people to know there's a history here that I think has occurred over time where school districts, somehow there's a level of distrust that happens between the school district and community. And this is not the first district I've worked in where that same tone has played out. Like we've had this in other districts where we've had to go and we've had to do some right sizing things. But what I'm here to share with every single one of you, in my mind, I know what we need to do as a professional. I can tell you in my mind what I know I believe is the right approach for us to go with this district. But it can't be about what Mark Bedell wants. Superintendents come and go. And at the end of the day, it has to be about what this community is willing to say that we're going to tackle and that we're going to do. But trust me, if we do this the right way, we all have to become comfortable with the fact that we're going to experience some discomfort. We're going to go through some pain in order to see a better day. And that's okay as long as we engage everybody and everybody comes to an agreement that, or the majority comes to an agreement that this is the route that we have to take in order to get this school district to where we want it to be. We want to begin to reverse the enrollment trend. We want to grow enrollment, and we have an opportunity here to do that. I tell people that our students' voice matters, and when you think about what our students are telling us that we have to do, these are some of our students here that's a part of our Student District Advisory Committee. They help participate in telling us what it is that they want. And there's one thing there. I told you about how we're under attack. The kids are telling us culturally relevant teaching and programming. They want that. All of this talk around critical race theory and what districts are teaching or shouldn't be teaching, the kids are telling you they want a holistic, robust educational experience that includes them, their identity within it. They're also telling us that they also want to make sure that there's a sense of belonging for them in our school system. I had an opportunity last night to listen to a presentation on culturally affirming school environments. We have Black here, and they had Dennis Carpenter, they had Ian Thorpe, another gentleman that I know very well there. And they talk about how do we create these environments that is welcoming to all of our students, right? Not based on the way that a system has been designed on how you should show up, what you should wear, you know, how you're to behave. We have to be authentic around what we want for our kids in this system. And I think it's on us to go back to the State Department of Education and say to them, this is what we want for our kids here in Kansas City. This is how you all can help us. So that is what we're going to do. They want more AP and more IB opportunities. They want rigor. They want more field experiences. How do we design a school system that is really agile and flexible to meet the needs of our kids, especially those who have to work and have to help make ends meet? If we build out a non-traditional high school model where these kids can come in on a flexible schedule, maybe we can open up this city to them in a way that we've never been able to do it. You constrain them when you say 7:20 to 2:20 only. That's a decision we make. Why couldn't it be 8 a.m. to 8 p.m.? I got kids who don't get out of work until 12 o'clock, and then they got to get up at 5 in the morning to hop on a bus. It doesn't have to be this way because COVID told us that it doesn't have to be this way. These are some additional comments. They talk a lot about support. We want more classes that will be valuable in life, like law, more language classes. Kids can earn a second acquisition of a second language, differentiated learning opportunities, right? So getting away from brick and mortar way of teaching and learning. That's going to require significant engagement and buy-in with our union. That's going to require that we have to remove some barriers that are already written in statute and legislation. But it can be done if we all come together and say, this is what we want. That's what's going to have to be different about what we're trying to do with Blueprint 2030. So we want everybody to join us in this process. We do not want people to feel that they did not have a voice in the direction that we're going. I have about 6 board members here out of the 7, and they've made it very clear to us. If the engagement isn't right, there will be no way that we can get to a yes vote with them. They will be a part of these community engagement sessions so that they get to hear what their constituents are saying. And we will continue to update our board frequently on where we're going with this so nobody's in the dark when it's time for us to bring to them our actions that we need them to take. And so these are the feedback opportunities that are on our website. and people can go on and they can get engaged. This is our town hall meeting that will take place on December 7th and the 14th. And here's what we're doing. We're going to encourage some healthy discourse. It's okay to have it. Let's put it out on the table. Let's have real conversation about what needs to happen in this school district. But in the process of doing that, let's also talk about, if you're complaining, then come with some solutions on how we can do better. Help us. Don't just come and just beat up and then you leave and nothing ever changes. So we want that healthy discourse, because we think that that is the only way that we're going to be able to win over the masses in this community, is by having it and not being secretive about what we want to do. So we're looking forward to that next Tuesday, 5:30 at Northeast Middle. And then we'll do it again on the 14th over at Southeast High School. And then there will be a lot of smaller meetings where we'll be going out to a lot of advocacy organizations, community organizations, and we will be able to have some more intimate conversations. But we're going to touch the whole city. And then we will feel comfortable at that point bringing recommendations to our board. And so how can you help with our future? There's a couple of things. Number one, we definitely need help in just getting the word out around what we want to do with Blueprint 2030, right? I think there's a narrative out there that it's just about closing schools, right? And I think that is a part of it when you look at the size of our school district, but it's much bigger than that, right? This is our 5-year strategic planning process. This is also a facility, 10-year facilities plan. We haven't passed a bond since 1967. That's kind of unheard of. So we got buildings that are falling apart, and our kids are, in many cases, you know, I'm looking at a lot of our kids here, they're thriving despite those learning environments. But we want our kids to have those same amenities as everybody else. And then most importantly, we want to make sure that we have that support legislatively, because there's a lot of things legislatively that we do have to say have to be moved out of the way if we want to move to becoming this much more agile, this much more flexible school district that is no longer operating in this rigid one-way model. We're going to have to then go and advocate in Jefferson City. And so this is not after the board votes on it, a 1-year turnaround deal, right? There's going to be a phase-in process. There are some things we're going to be able to do in the immediate. There'll be some things that we may not be able to do for 2 years, and then maybe 3. And then depending on a bond, if we pass a bond, you're looking 5 years out before you can even begin to see any substantial work being done on our facilities. So there's a lot of things that we're going to have to do in the meanwhile to continue to press forward with those desires that we get from this community around Blueprint 2030. So Ms. Wolfsey, I don't know if I went over my time. Did I go over a lot? Okay.
I'm sure I went over a little bit. Ms. Wachel, would you be so kind as to come up? We'd like to introduce our students. We are still going to try to shoot and get you out here at 9, but I want you to know if you have questions regarding Blueprint 2030, we are going to be here after we shut, so you can ask Dr. Bedell and some of us if you have questions. So go ahead.
I'm going to move a little bit over here for the folks who are online. We have 5 students here this morning, and we wanted to give a chance for them to introduce themselves and what high school they attend. The beauty of these students here today is that they've all participated in some way through our district advisory committee or our student summit we've had around Blueprint 2030. So these students specifically have engaged with these gallery walk boards, have engaged with each other as students in the district, and have also given us feedback that Dr. Bedell just went over through online surveys, through the Post-it notes, through boards that we've been working in these gallery walk events. So if you guys, I'm gonna put you on the spot, get to come up here and introduce yourself, where you go to school, and just maybe a brief thought about where you are in this process of thinking about the future of KCPS. And Sophia, you get to go first. Yeah, so Sophia, you're going to be on camera. Use this microphone right here, please. You guys can all come up and be up here to speak.
Hi, so I'm Sophia Herrera. I'm a junior at Lincoln College Preparatory Academy. I'm also a full IB diploma candidate. I think that the district stands in a place where we can improve some things regarding like our district and specifically certain schools within the curriculum especially, and the diversity as well.
Hello, my name is Verena M. I'm a junior at Lincoln College Prep. I'm also a full IB diploma candidate, and I'm really interested to see like where we're going with culturally relevant learning and like just implementing that more in our classes and curriculum.
Hello, my name is Lila Stevenson. I go to Southeast High School and I'm a junior. I'm actually on board with the 2030 blueprint. I was actually in the summit and I was appreciated that a lot of our feedback was heard. And I just like how it was showed up on the screen as well.
Hi, I'm Tanaya. I go to East High School and I'm a freshman. I like being a part of the blueprint plan because it helps us students tell you guys what's wrong with our school district. And I really liked how we got to talk about how to make our schedules more flexible for students who weren't always able to be in school because they had to provide for their families.
Hi, my name is Sawyer Nevins. I'm a junior at Lincoln. I'm also on the Student District Advisory Committee. And I'm just really glad that the district has given us the opportunity to like grow and give us our feedback, or give them our feedback, sorry. And I think it's just like really telling them like how much they want to progress.
Thank you guys. Appreciate that. So I'd like to invite Rita Cortez, Manny Abarca, and Ms. Linda Quinley up to quickly go through our priorities. I just have to say, as a point of pride, I know many of these students. I have known them since they were 3 years old.
So thank you for joining us today. Thank you, Ms. Wolsey. And thank you, Dr. Bedell, for sharing the work that we're doing in the Blueprint 2030 realm. Very briefly, our legislative priorities are on your table. We're not going to read them to you. But I will simply highlight that the process of setting our legislative priorities is a joint project of the administration and the board. You'll notice that these may look extremely familiar from previous years. These were the same priorities. The reality is that in Jeff City, it takes time to move things along unless something happens to be right at the political hotspot. So these are things around which persistence matters, and your assistance in persisting is really important. The first item on here is equitable treatment of public education in charter counties. This is a request for us to all operate under the same equitable set of ground rules. Some of you may know that there's often talk about funding, but we believe that there are elements more than funding about how there is equity amongst all of the educational institutions within the publicly funded system. So I will hand this off to my colleague.
We're going to do some bouncing a little bit here, back and forth. One important thing, and I think Dr. Bill touched on it a little bit, as a student of political science, politics is the art of the possible. And so the reality is what you're willing to put into this is what we're going to get out of this. So as we talk about some of the other legislative priorities, the social emotional needs of our underserved communities is a priority for us in terms of our legislative outcomes. And that's everything from focusing on funding sources to the neighborhoods with increasing rates of COVID-19, violent crime, and the digital divide. And in some of these areas, we've made personal strides, but the reality is we need more support in this area. Talking about that financial component and the more support, I'm going to pass it over to Linda Quinley here for a sec.
Thank you, Mr. Barca. Good morning, everyone. I'm Linda Quinley, Chief Finance and Operations Officer, and get to work with the board and our leadership team in Jefferson City. And I'll just tell you, being the person who spends the most time in Jefferson City, we have a lot of people who spend time, it's a battle for Kansas City Public Schools in Jefferson City year after year after year. And we need to think that this one's going to be a big battle as well. 2 bills were filed. December 1st is pre-filing date. They go back to session January 5th, but December 1st, they can file bills. 2 bills have been filed already that would extremely adversely impact revenues for Kansas City Public Schools and Kansas City charter schools. And so we want to pay close attention to those. But the Hancock Amendment protection is highly complex. I would love individual conversations if you want to learn more about this, because it's really fascinating coming from a school system in Central Missouri
We are the only school system and the only taxing jurisdiction in the state of Missouri who does not calculate our tax rate like everyone else. There are 518 school districts. Kansas City has its own separate tax rate. It relates to Article 10 of the Missouri Constitution that became under DSEG. And Hancock is a challenge for our property owners. It was made to protect property owners from large increases in assessed valuation and protects taxing jurisdictions from large decreases and kind of keep that revenue flow equitable and that payment of property taxes equitable. So in 2009, when the markets crashed, Kansas City Public Schools and charter schools who were here at the time lost roughly $18 million over 2 years in revenue. It immediately came out of the budget. And so similarly, when it increased a couple of years ago, we saw those increases go to the taxpayer. What we want to do is find a way to get back under Hancock and keep the protections that the students in both KCPS and the charter schools in Kansas City deserve. So again, it's a fascinating conversation. Be happy to have it if you want to give me an email.
Thank you, Ms. Quinley. As the treasurer, I try my best to guard our treasury as much as possible. And for anyone who follows me on Twitter, I'm sure you know what I mean. The realities of this, though, is it is a shared perspective to balance both the revenues that we're taking in and the taxpayers' impact from taxes. So it's incredibly important and a shared community effort, I think, for this legislative priority. The last priority, which is one of the most important, is teacher compensation. And the reality that in this, thank you. In this environment, we should have the flexibility to set rates and provide benefits to our teachers. And that's, as Dr. Bedell said, working collaborations with our union. So there's much more very intentional wording in all of these. So please take the time to read them. I think we're trying to catch up on some time. So I'll turn it back over to my colleague, Jennifer Wolfsey.
Thank you so much. And like I said, we'll be here afterwards if you want to talk in more detail or if you have any questions, and those online, if you want to put those in chat, we would be happy to try to follow up with you on those as well. So closing us out would be Nate Hogan, our board chair. I'd like to bring him up to the podium. Thank you.
Thank you, Jen. Good morning. Okay, good morning. Thank you, thank you. So Jen has given out a lot of thanks and praise to everyone else, but I want to thank you, Jen, for pulling this together and just your consistent and constant and support of this district, our kids, and you understand the impact of this community. And you've been a tireless champion for our kids and our families. So thank you for being so dedicated to us. So I'm not even really sure why I'm up here because I feel like Dr. Bedell stole all of my thunder throughout his presentation. I mean, the call to action has been made. But I've been thinking a lot lately about this word belonging. And I've been thinking about it in the context of my own life and being one of the very few Black executives in Kansas City of a publicly traded company. And it feels lonely, right? A lot to walk into the doors because I don't necessarily feel like the people that are in those rooms with me fully appreciate or understand my perspective, right? And in this whole notion of having to sort of change who you are, right, to fit in with a dominant culture is a tough thing to wrap your head around. And if you've never experienced that, I would encourage you to go do some reading and learning about it because it's tough, right? And when you think about belonging as it relates to our kids, right, this whole idea of, my identity is important. I shouldn't have to lose my identity because someone they want me to conform to their idea of what my identity should be, right? I mean, think about that. That's a tough thing to ask of an adult, let alone a child who's coming in who just wants to be loved on, praised, supported. And so when you hear us talk about the student experience, it isn't just like when they come in the doors and what that feels like, although I do think that that's an important element of how our kids feel comfortable and supported and feel like they can be a part of their educational experience, but it's about how we teach them, how we engage them, how we get them enthusiastic about learning and being really critical thinkers that are going to move out into the world and be productive members of society, right? Belonging is the student experience. And what we really are trying to do collectively as a board and as an administration is wrap our heads around what does that look like from the minute a kid gets on a school bus to the time that kid returns home. right? It is not just a simple thing. It's a really, really difficult task that we're trying to take on here. And it requires everyone in this room to be a part of the solutions, right? And so Dr. Bedell talked about how you guys can help, but I think you're all uniquely positioned to really push this. You all are influencers in this city. You have the ability to drive engagement throughout all of these different events that we're going to put on. We're going to get more robust about those events as well over the next couple of months. And so my ask to you is to please get engaged, not just yourselves, but bring everyone that you know in this community who has and should have a voice in this process, bring them with you, right? Some of them are going to be voices that are loud and frustrating to us, and some of them are going to be mild. We're going to have to pull information out of it. We want all of that, right? Because it's only when we listen to every single voice in this community that we come to a plan that we can then execute on that outlives not just Dr. Bedell, but every single board member that's here as well. Right? Because it's not about any one of us individuals. It's not about our personalities or our egos. It's about raising this city up, right, in a way that benefits all of us. So that's the ask. Get engaged yourselves. Get everyone that you know engaged in this process. I don't care how loud or how soft the voice is. Please, please, please get engaged. So that being said, I will say stick around. There will be a few of us that are staying. I have to run to another meeting, but there will be folks around to kind of chat with you if you have additional questions. So thanks, guys.
Thank you so much. Thanks for everybody here in person. Thanks for everybody in the online world. A way to stay kind of with us as we go through this journey through this next year in legislative session is if you're not already receiving the legislative e-news, we do not spam you, I promise. It's only when you need it. All you have to do is send an email to that email address and we will add you so that you now know what is going on. And you'll get updates both at the city, the county, the state, and federal level. We're not doing tons at the federal level, but we definitely have a lot of activity at the city and state. So thank you for your time. We love seeing you every year. Please reach out if you need anything. Thank you so much to our students for coming and also for your leadership throughout the years. I've seen many of you for a couple of years. So thanks again. Have a wonderful weekend, everybody. Oh, sorry.
Thank you.